Welcome to TradingNBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 29th, final day of trading for the month before we start the June gloom, as they say. You know, the selling may go away, but it doesn't look like anyone has sold, or if they have sold, they've been selling at the best pricing that we've seen. Pretty much here. May has been sideways, but then as we started to really get the forced pressure by Trump that things were going to open, right off that algo, boom, there was just a solid floor placed in there, and we just excelled from it. And, there's some general optimism about things starting up in certain sectors. It's going to be better than it was, but certainly, is it justifying being right here? Well, again, this gets back to that whole topic of the value of money over time and deflation, or inflation, as you might refer to it, would be devaluing it. We're already seeing that now in the euro because we're just pumped the euro to make the dollar less expensive, when in fact, if you're going to compare GDPs, even in the crisis, to Europe and that, it's like, is there any justification for the euro to even be above par? No, but that's the power of central banks, and that's why we enjoy them. From a NASDAQ standpoint, its weaknesses started while the S&P has been catching up. So it had already regained nearly the highs there, but it's starting to show a little bit of softness when that is. It's had the shakeout fading from there. It's been within rising gold, but the gold now is flattened out. We're at the 100%, so there's no more expectation for it to make an improvement or press beyond that. So that's definitely something to be cautious about. And here's what I'm talking about from that euro rise. I mean, skyrocketing, as though the euro has somehow made a miraculous turnaround. Sure, restrictions are supposed to be lifted in the next day or so. I think they're expecting some kind of boom from that because you'll be able to travel. In most regions, it's so complicated, I can't even describe it to you. It's not even worth it either. Needless to say, there's still police everywhere, and if you're not wearing a mask, you'll write you a ticket. If you happen to be in a group of more than a couple, I don't wear a mask personally, never have. I'm not going to start, so that's a whole different issue. Anyway, that's the euro. They're all the way back up at 111, so it's well in the middle of the range. And I think that adds a lot of comfort to some people in America, at least, who want to see a rising euro and that to make American goods cheaper, especially given this transition they want to do from manufacturing back into America from China and that. And of course, I think today will be interesting because we're going to see some of that reaction. The president said he was going to make some statement about China and the trade deal and that, and whether or not things would continue. So could be some little fireworks there, especially the end of the week. And oil now has reached a stasis of equilibrium, so to speak, at this particular point. I think that the next question will start to be in the next week, will we see improvement data? So for those who think that June is going to be soft and or at least just uneventful, I think you're crazy. I think it's only going to start heating up and getting more raucous, particularly as the political fray starts going. You're going to start having hearings about the Russia hoax thing, and that's just going to add to a volatility, particularly whether or not any of these new tech restrictions that's going to have really big play, particularly if it's bipartisan. So I think everyone's going to be watching the reaction on that one. That's going to really be an interesting one, particularly too for the election coming forward. And it is just nice when you can say whatever you want and not have to worry about being canceled, banned, or removed. Gold, right back up above. No surprise there. I mean, we were expecting it to turn around and move back up to what eventually will be some kind of I think, large event that will just propel gold to staggering new highs, simply because of the amount of money and particularly if they pass another stimulus, just the amount of money that will be, and it depends. If they release the money after the point where economic activity starts to increase on its own generically, that will really cause an inflationary pressure, because then you'll have people actually earning money as well as receiving money, and it's that excess that will convert itself into an inflationary pressure. So we had marked these algos. We had the 2990, we had the new 3013. We propelled right off that, started the market open. We kind of condensed for a while, and that lasted a good ways until we started to break higher, created a new one right around the 3050 range, but that proved to be just about too much. Ended up with the DOC spread right here on following red DOC. And once I started looking, would be right back over here. When we first broke out, red DOC was heading lower. Yeah, I know I've got steel coming from below, so it's going to be a little bit stronger. But at this particular point, from that big rise you had of the power mo, it finally crossed below the 13 line there. And so this one became certainly far more interesting. And then when the steel actually popped up above, it kind of was like, okay, if I get that turnaround cross there, boom, you have it set up, and that's what started it. And it started it, and it kept going. So we ended up moving all the way from the 3050 right to, guess where? Oh, that's right, the 3013. Where did we have that number before? Why in the world would it go to that spot and correct? Exactly. We know the rest of them don't. That's okay. We'll take what it is and be happy with it. It looks like we're building into a little bit of range right here off the lower, and we're going to be probably in between these two algos for a little while as things consolidate and we get more clarity as to is there going to be more trade action and how will that play out. So we'll just keep an eye on what the algos tell us. As always, though, trade well. We'll talk to you later.